Keith here from North 40 Fly Shop, and as you can see, another minnow pattern. And if you know me, I like minnow patterns, especially when I'm fishing for predatory type fish. But most all trout are predatory. So, what this pattern is I came up with it a couple years ago. If you've ever saltwater fished, especially for searun cutthroats, searun trout, that kind of stuff, you'll know what a surf candy is. And so what I did was I took that pattern, downsized it, and I tied this all the way down to a size 10, and all the way up to what it's right here is a size 4. We're going with the 4 today just because it's easier to film. This has been very effective, especially like if I'm fishing Omak Lake, Rufus Woods, and even some of our other local waters like Rat Lake and a few of the other ones where the fish seem to be a little more aggressive. This has been real good out at McGinnis too, this time of year, from about October until it ices up. So we'll get started with this in just a minute. The hook I've got in the vise here is an owner mosquito hook. This is a size 4. Any type hook of this style, some of the small saltwater hooks will work good too, like from Umpqua. And for thread, we're not going to be using our standard deniers, or excuse me, UTC thread. We're using a mono thread by UTC, and just because I want a little clear see-through type tie-in right here. So, anyways, we'll get started. I'll get this wrapped in, and one thing is, it is mono. It's a small bait. It's the small one. I think this is the 0.004. So you want to be careful that you don't over pull on it. Otherwise, it'll break. We're going to get that wrapped down to right about where the bend of the hook starts. And once we get that down there, we're going to take our thread all the way back to up here by the eye, and usually I start my tie-in about 1 eye length back from the eye itself. So for the body, we are going to be using one of the materials I like a lot of, and that is the UTC Mirage Tinsel in the opal, and this is the medium size. So we're going to tie that in up front. So, get that wrapped in real good. And then we're just going to wrap it back for the body itself. When you're tying these type of minnow patterns, is basically what you're doing is you're tying the juvenile fish that haven't even really developed spots, a lot of coloration, and so their bodies are kind of opaque. So that's what we're going to be doing here. So we're going to go all the way back, and then we're going to take it all the way back forward again. It just builds up the body a little bit, and it's going to give a nice shine to the body itself. Alright, a couple wraps over, tie that off. I've done this enough that basically what I'm looking for is, I'll take my eyes and kind of measure it back. So I want to put this little hot spot, or this gill slit, about an eye, behind where the eye would be glued in. So we're just going to build that up real good and get just a little bit of a bump there. There we go. And we're just going to whip finish that off. I guess, you know, there's probably other ways to put this in without having to clip off my main thread, but this is the easiest way for me. Alright. Now we're going to just reattach our mono. Take it all the way back to where that little hot spot is. So the next material is going to be 2 colors of Steve Farrar's Flash Blend. This is going to be the olive. And we're going to take off about that much, if you can see that. And that's going to be our back. And what we're going to do is we're going to double this over. Like that. So we got that much. And then we're going to clip it right off, right flush there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to tie this in actually in reverse. So we're going to tie it so that the length of this is sticking out over the eye this way. And you're going to put this right on top so it's going right over the top of the eye. I'm going to stand up to do this. There we go. You're going to tie that in real nice and tight, all the way back a little bit. Make sure you keep that all on top. And then we're going to trim off the butts, flush up right there. This is all going to be covered up once we get going. There we go. So that was the olive. The next one is a white. This is an off-white here, but a white would be just as good. And we're going to take about the same amount of the white fibers. Again, we're going to bend them in half, fold them over, and clip that off. And so this is going to go, when we tie it in, we're going to tie it in on top of this. Like so. And you want to kind of keep everything held together, so excuse my fingers. And we're going to take this up real close to the eye, but not to the eye. We're going to get that there, and again we're going to clip off the butt ends. Like so. You want to make sure there's no stragglers because we're going to be using some UV resin to build the body up, and we don't want anything that's going to get in our way. Oops. Okay. Now the next step, because we're done tying stuff, is we're going to whip finish this off. My thread came around on me, so excuse me a second here. Technical difficulties. So, alright. So we're just going to do, you don't have to do a lot because this is all going to be encased in UV resin, so just 3 or 4 turn whip finish behind, right here. Will be all you need. There's my needle. The easy part is done now. There we go. Okay, so you probably have an idea what we're going to do here. If you ever do anything similar to this, because everything is going to be bent back over. Just like this. So that's what we're going to do. So when you're doing this, you're going to want to kind of hold everything so it all is pulled back nice and tight. So you're going to have to kind of gather everything up a little bit and make sure there's no stragglers, like that one right there. So the next trick is we're going to take some UV clear fly finish in the thick, because we're not going to tie this in the back, we're going to glue it in the back. So I'm going to make sure everything's nice and tight. And we're going to glue this right at the bend. You don't want to go too far back. So we're going to put just a little bit back there, as you can see. And then we're going to spread that around, because I don't want to build it up too much right there. So that'll hold. I'm going to take our loon light here. Give it a hit. And that's just to kind of hold all the fibers together, hopefully. All right. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to turn this on our side, and we're just going to put a little drop right here to kind of hold those fibers to the hook shank. At least that's the idea. There we go. And that's what we want right there. So for eyes, generally I'll use the living eyes, and it depends on the color of what you want to do, or the ice, or the whatever color that the bait fish has that you're tying. So I either tie these in a 5mm or 4mm. So we're going to use 4mm for this one. We're going to turn this on our side, and we're going to apply a little bit of super glue right there just to kind of help us out to get the eyes to stick. You want to get those positioned just right, just kind of in front of the hot spot. And we'll let that set a minute and glue up. And we'll turn it on this side here. Again, apply a little bit of super glue. It'll just help hold things in place while we're messing with it. Oh, there's another one. There we go. So you want to put them both about equal distance apart. Everything matches up. So we'll just kind of let that dry for a couple of minutes. Okay, so these had a little bit of time to set a little bit. Usually if I'm going to do this, I might put these on, set away, do another set, and so forth, but we got it all right. So we're going to take some thick again, and we're just going to lay a little bit on the top between the eyes. And this is where it becomes time consuming, so you're just going to start working the UV resin in and around places, and it's a matter of just building it up at the right level. Most of the time I work with the thin, but in this case, because I want to do it slowly, I'm using the thick. And at this point, we're going to build it up, apply some more, build it up, apply some more. So we just kind of keep working it back and forth, and we'll get it built up just like that. So for that, we just give a final, making sure everything is feeling pretty good there. And one little spot right here, it needs a little bit more. So the length we want here is about 1 3/4 inches. So most of the time I would know where it is, but we're going to measure that off. So from about the hook eye to the back, it's going to put it about right about there. Is it going to be 1 3/4 inches? I pull it tight because when I release it, it's going to shorten up just enough. And of course now it's got a square tail. So we're going to, from here on, we just do a little bit of tapering. And then we'll take and switch and just start gently working that down. There we go. Get some of the wild ones over there. And then the last thing I do is you can either use the loon flow, but I will do, like I always do with a lot of these, is I'll just use some of the real super thin hardest hulls penetrator to put a nice hard coat over it, and then it just takes a few minutes to dry out. So, and that's all there is to this fly. Like I said, it kind of gives an, you know, if you look at small minnows, they kind of almost seem like they're opaque, or you can see through them, and that's what the concept here is. So tie up a few of these. Next time you hit a lake, or even sometimes in the river, they'll work okay. You know, play around with them. They've done real good for me at some of the local lakes when the fish are feeding on minnows and stuff, and they'll work for some of your spiny rays, crappie, bluegill, even some of the bass. They'll work good on. So until next time, we'll talk to you later.